Hi guys, and welcome back to Macaroon. If you're on the same side of social media as I am, then you might have seen a lot of viral clips recently showing someone making imitation food using a tiny cooking pot. These videos are usually Korean and involve creating realistic replicas of gummy candy, baked beans, or other weird things. Many viewers are pretty confused by what's going on and not sure whether the result is edible or if it's some type of slime or squishy. So the technique being used is called spherification, and in this video we'll do a deep dive into this very unique and fascinating method. The chemicals involved in spherification are all non-toxic, which is why it became quite popular for toy kits in recent years. I've reviewed a lot of these products in the past, so feel free to check out some of my older videos below. This toy pot takes the trend onto a whole new level because of how adorable and detailed it is. I was really excited to find the original item from Amazon Japan while browsing around for my usual craft supplies. Interestingly, this is from Resin, which is the same company behind the silicone clay kit from this video. I'm not sure if the original product is Korean and simply licensed by Resin, or if they created it themselves. But either way, Resin products tend to be very high quality with incredible attention to detail, so I'm really excited to see what's inside. You get 6 packets of calcium chloride, 6 bottles of gel, a stack of food molds, the stove and cooking pot, and some cute utensils which I nearly missed during the unboxing. You also need 3 AA batteries for the stove, which are not included. This is calcium chloride, which is a compound very similar to salt. The most common use for this is melting snow and ice in winter, so when people talk about putting salt on roads, they're actually referring to calcium chloride and not sodium chloride. This kit gives you 6 packets, and after translating the instructions, I realized you only need half a packet for 250 milliliters of water. So you can play with this pot 12 times, which is extremely generous. All the other kits I've tried only gave you enough calcium chloride for 2 or 3 attempts. I'm starting with half a packet, followed by water. As you can see, the salt starts fizzing and it's actually dissolving by itself. I barely have to stir it before everything is gone. This is a big contrast to the first kit I used, which was much harder to get the powder to dissolve. The next step is sodium alginate, which is a non-toxic gel made from seaweed. This has no smell at all and has a similar texture to shampoo. When exposed to calcium chloride, sodium alginate starts forming a membrane which creates this satisfying shape that you can hold. This technique is also used in many popping cooking kits, and the most common example you've all seen is probably popping boba. Spherification can be used for edible and non-edible things, but it all depends on what your base ingredients are. In this case, the gel is non-toxic, but it's definitely not edible. It does look very tempting though, and the cooking noises of the pot make it feel a lot more realistic. Now let's make a kamaboko fish cake. Based on my experience, the biggest problem with these kits is getting a shape that actually looks like the mold. In some of my earliest attempts, I tried making a heart, but it kept ending up looking like an egg. Even with better kits after that, it was still very tricky to get a shape that looks exactly like the outline of the mold. So I was pleasantly surprised that this design turned out exactly how it should be. Even a complex shape like the shrimp ended up nearly perfect. I think they really paid attention to the chemistry of this kit, and the result is incredibly satisfying to use. Next up, I'm making some soba noodles using brown gel. It was only at this point that I realized the scoop has tiny grooves in it which can hold the white plastic molds in place. This is another small attention to detail which just makes everything a bit easier to use. The trick with all these spherification kits is to leave the sodium alginate alone until it releases by itself. If you try touching it too early, then it's a lot more likely to break. The most you can do is shake it gently to help the solution touch the membrane from all sides. Also try to avoid leaving it inside the solution for too long, or it might turn solid and lose that slightly squishy texture. In many of those viral videos, people really start freestyling with the designs. They'll often mix two colors together to create a custom shade or use creative objects for molds. I'm doing a very basic experiment here to create a custom lighter green shade for the broccoli. You can also mix glitter or entire objects inside to create different visual effects. Once again, I'm impressed by how well the chemistry works because several of these shapes look identical to the mold. Tiny sharp corners are the hardest to get right, and all of these turned out perfect. Popping sodium alginate is extremely satisfying, so the final part of this video will be breaking open all the pieces we made. These pieces do not last forever, so that's a great excuse for cutting them open. If you leave them out in the air, then they simply dry up and will lose the shape completely. I noticed that the membrane here is quite a bit thicker compared to many of the previous pieces I made using different kits. This might explain why the designs were able to hold their shape so well. The quicker these become solid, the less likely it is for the shape to distort. Since we have a food theme going on, I'm going to use a knife and fork. The egg looks almost like a real one with a runny yolk. The noodles are very thin, so they're almost completely solid and can't be cut open. I noticed that many molds have several layers, which lets you create more three-dimensional shapes. This carrot is one of those, and it has a satisfyingly round appearance. So on the whole, I was pretty blown away by this kit. It's by far the best spherification set I've tried because all the pieces turn out exactly how they're supposed to. It's also very generous with materials, and you get a lot more calcium chloride than anywhere else. And of course, the imitation light and sounds of the pot makes it uniquely enjoyable to play with. A lot of these kits have underwater themes where you can make various ocean creatures, but cooking is obviously another perfect fit. If I had one tiny complaint, then it would be that this kit doesn't come with any blue, purple, or fully transparent gel. I know these aren't really part of the food spectrum, but I think that just gives you a lot more freedom to make your own custom shades. Liquid sodium alginate can be washed down the sink, but the finished pieces should be wrapped in tissue and disposed of in the trash. These are non-toxic and over 99% water, so once they dry up, they produce almost no waste. You can check out this video here where I left sodium alginate pieces to dry, and the results were quite surprising. I hope you enjoyed this video, and check out the description box for all the shopping links. This kit is actually on sale right now for $29, which I think is great value. Even with shipping costs, the creativity and replay value is huge. Just for comparison, I found this one infinitely more enjoyable than the Magic Mixie's pot, which was a lot more expensive. And of course, if you end up using up all the materials, then you can always buy cheap refills from any other sodium alginate toy kit. I'm Joanna, thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye!